Welcome everyone to the DweeBros podcast, coming at you in hot July.
Hot boy summer.
This is a brat summer. Welcome. We're one man short, but we're two men strong.
Oh, I like how you spun that.
Yeah. So Jacob is back on his BS. Remember last year, I don't know if people remember, last year, he gave us a funny schedule. He said, I'm not available this time, 6 to 10 at night, and then no weekends.
Yeah, he said weekdays, I can't do 6 to 10 and no weekends.
You're unavailable. He gave us a stretch of maybe 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning we shoot. So
classic Jacob.
Yeah, so he won't be here for a little bit, but like I said, we're two men strong. But we've got some great stuff to talk about in this month's episode of the DweeBros podcast. If you've never watched this before, I'm Zach, joined by...
I never know. Are you introducing me or am I introducing myself?
If there's silence, I'm you should just assume that it's your turn.
What are we on, episode 95? I never know.
Should I point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Or
What's
just introduce me. If you're going to host,
all right, rewind.
You introduce me.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Travis.
Let us know if that felt natural. Felt natural to me. We'll do that from now on. I'll give a little...
Yeah, I think that sounded like we're really having a good time.
So we've got some good stuff to get to. I say we get to the most important and then we get to the least important.
Are we diving right in with the most important thing?
Yes.
These typically last about an hour to an hour and a half. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how that's going to work today without Jacob. So
yeah.
If we're going to do the most important thing in the first 2 minutes, let's do it.
Okay. Number one, the most important thing, hot off the press of when we're filming this, it's probably going to be the hottest story of the month. Skibidi Toilet is getting movie and TV shows.
Okay.
I read the article and it seems like it's very new. It seems like the talks are underway with Michael Bay, and then there's some other writer or whatever that he works with or something that was involved, but Michael Bay was the news story of this.
Michael Bay.
Did you have time to look into this at all?
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of the Michael Bay piece.
Yeah, Michael Bay is involved.
Nothing says Gen Alpha like Michael Bay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think was it 2 episodes ago? We did kind of an extensive look at Skibidi Toilet, talking about watching through that series. And
you've watched through a lot of it, right?
Yeah, I watched through I don't know, 70 episodes, something like that. I watched through over half of it with my younger brother. And my takeaway was, this is wild, but I get it in a weird way. It's cool machinima kind of using Half-Life, Gmod tools to make some crazy videos. But I'm excited to see if Michael Bay gets it.
The thing that was weird for me was that I have always seen that stuff since the early 2000s, like the Half-Life Gmod, using Gmod to make these funny videos in Team Fortress. I've seen that forever. And then seeing this, it's oh, that's been around, but the head in the toilet thing's new. But
the head in the toilet thing is new. And I think what's cool about Skibidi Toilet is it starts off like it's a joke, it's really just a big joke, and slowly it becomes very meta, and it's not a joke. There's some stuff going on. There's characters. There's a big Megatron looking guy, that comes back and fights. And
this was I sent it to Pierce, our friend Pierce. If you're watching, shouts out. But he actually texted back and said, "Is this real? Is this real? Is this actually a real story this time?" But it's from Variety,
because he's been waiting his whole life for this.
Yes, but it is interesting what they will take a chance on. What they'll because they did the Five Nights at Freddy's but these studios will take a chance on Skibidi Toilet, but some of the movies that are not sequels or Marvel stuff or Skibidi Toilet is getting passed over. It's kind of sad.
Well, I mean,
sad existence.
What movie isn't getting made that otherwise would be getting made instead of Skibidi Toilet? I actually don't know if I agree.
I'm more complaining about like the Toy Story 5s and the stuff where people, I feel like it's more mainstream now. People are like kind of getting fatigued from the same movies, or even Twisters, or bringing back all this other stuff. And it's like, there's got to be some more original stories out there. It's more about like, and I think some of these look good. I'm not crapping on all of them, but I'm about to talk about Inside Out 2, all that stuff. But I think people get fatigued, and I think that's became mainstream now of people like, why are all these sequels? Why is this the same movie? Why are we bringing back this a third time? Why are we doing another Ghostbusters kind of thing or whatever?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Because I think we could have actually a really cool conversation about this, because you're a filmmaker.
Yes.
And so something getting made is different than something becoming successful and getting, a lot of viewers in the theater and a lot of tickets sold.
Sure.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. So where I would push back just a little bit is, how many movies have you seen in the theaters this year? You're a film goer. You go see movies. How many movies have you seen? 3. Okay, what did you go see?
Inside Out 2. We saw... Gosh, you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think back.
Saw Furiosa.
Furiosa. And I saw... There was a third one. I can't think of it right now. Dang it.
And it may come to you, but I mean,
yeah.
you've seen 2 or 3, and... Are either of those sequels?
No, but I would argue that
they are sequels.
That Furiosa is its own.
No, let's get the hell out of here.
Actually, Furiosa is a prequel.
Okay, are they franchise films? This is not like where the discussion is. This is just.
I think if Inside Out
discussion.
Let me say this too.
Don't argue the semantic, because there's a better conversation after this question.
Okay,
it's not a gotcha. That's not my goal.
No. I'm just saying I feel differently about those than what the other stuff did.
But they resonate with you, and they resonate with me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I went and saw them. So, but they're both franchise films.
Yeah.
Okay. So if the point is, I'm not
even poo-pooing over franchises. I will say too.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You're saying what you're saying is there are movies not getting made.
Yes.
And people are fatigued by the franchise stuff.
Yes.
Okay. But counter to that feeling, the 2 things you've seen that I've seen are franchise movies, and they're good franchise movies. So the fatigue is with the abundance of franchise movies, right?
Yes.
But there's good franchise movies too that we look forward to.
Yeah.
And what are some examples of non-franchise movies you've gone and seen in a theater?
I'll talk recent ones that were just held.
Licorice Pizza is one.
Licorice Pizza is a good one. I was going to say the freaking Scorsese film we fought about.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of it.
Yeah. Irishman, which we watched on Netflix, but same idea. I mean,
but that was something he had to fight, because I thought that came to limited release.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
But there's certain movies that, where these people are fighting. Even look at Metropolis that's coming out here. That took over like 2 or 3 decades.
Really fast. Let's trace it back for a second. Okay.
I'm talking about these films that are the studios are afraid of, that are afraid to put out.
The Irishman is based on a book.
Yeah.
It's an adaptation of a book.
But some of these took a long time for them to make.
No argument. But what I'm saying is there's this. Here's my point. I hear people say, I want more original things. But the things that they like a lot of times aren't even original things. They just like them because they're good. So whether something is good or not good has nothing to do with if it's original, is my point. And there are a lot of original movies come out. I mean, A24 is putting out original movies all the time.
Yeah.
And at a rate that I don't think that we necessarily saw 20 years ago. I mean, I was growing up as a kid.
Yeah, A24 is great.
Catwoman is in theaters, and National Treasure is in theaters. And, every now and then you get like American Gangster, like in the mid 2000s, something exciting to go see. But it was, this same scenario in a lot of ways. I think there's more stuff getting put out today and getting eyes on it that's interesting and original than ever. I don't think we have a creation problem. I think we have a curation and a attention span problem in terms of people have so much inundated on them that there's not room for something that doesn't already have some level of support like a franchise. There's just not a lot of room a lot of times for those things to really get enough mind share to be a success.
That's true. I would just argue that I will argue from, filmmaking standpoint and just what I feel with these bigger, I'm talking about major budget films.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is and maybe it's because of the economy, I don't know. But I feel like this way all the time. They're always spooked about doing something until someone actually finally takes the chance or finally does something unique. And then this is very true for gaming, along with movies, but even more so, I want to say for gaming is none of these studios want to take chances, and it's a lot of these safe kind of ideals a lot of times. Indies do a lot of cool stuff, of course. But they'll do something cool, and then Fortnite has a mode for it, or this has a mode for it, and this, you know what I mean? Like, it always takes like that first Fortnite that came out, or Minecraft, or this other stuff, and then everybody wants to kind of, swallow it up. But it took an ideal that if you would have took that straight to a major publisher or whatever, they would have never took the chance on it. But it takes someone actually finally risking something, and then they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. But it's always like you got to take these unique kind of risk, and nobody wants to do that as much anymore. That's my argument.
So
overall.
Who's nobody, the studios or filmmakers?
I just spoke about gaming, but I'm talking about like for film, it's just a little bit of fatigue of superhero films and these sequel films. I'm not, again, against some of these movies. I'm sure they're good, but it's like, man, like, let's get some like new stories or original stuff. That's why, like, I did love Poor Things. I do love these other like A24 films. Like, they are doing it right. Like, there are some, and is it Blumhouse and stuff? Mm-hmm. Like, they're doing these kind of like, let's get these weird ideals out there. So I'm not saying that's not happening. I agree with you on that. So you're
wanting to see more of like...
I'm just saying I'm talking about big mega, like, that's why like I'm so excited this year to see Metropolis this year in September. That's coming up. But like that took like decades for him to finally, and he had to fund a lot of it. And same with Furiosa.
Yeah.
That was a lot, like 140 million was George Miller.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Those kind of things suck. Like that he had to put that much money of his own like capital to do that.
Yeah.
And these studios don't want to support like, and Mad Max was good. They got a lot of, I don't know.
Hey, as somebody that loved Furiosa and respected George Miller for, the way that he self-funded that and made it and, took the risk on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
I think I hear a lot of people say, I wish we had more of this. And I kind of feel like I am constantly seeing original movies get put out, and like I see some buzz on Twitter about them, and then everybody moves on.
Yeah.
And that's where and they're not massive budgets maybe, and maybe that's what your point is.
That's more the point. Not that none of that stuff's getting made, and I think with indie games, a lot of cool games are coming out, like way more than when I was a kid. It's just the budget does change,
But let me offer you something.
Thanks.
If you go back and look at like the history of what movies cost, everybody thinks of Jaws. Like, think of this really successful summer blockbuster in the 70s, Jaws. It cost almost nothing to make.
Yeah.
Even some of the old Indiana Jones movies. I mean, the budgets were not extravagant.
Yeah.
But they would get great returns. I think nowadays, to get those kinds of big movies, you have to spend so much more money than you used to, because the productions and the costs and everything have skyrocketed so much with the growth and all the eyeballs on that industry, and how much, everybody, all the different investors and all the pieces of the pie people take. I mean, I guess I just would point to, show me a movie in the 80s that cost the equivalent today of like $300-400 million. Some of these movies cost to make and market. They used to make a lot more money on something and spend $20 million. And that was like I was reading through my old James Bond book. I'm coming up on the end of a big James Bond marathon with my friends, Bondathon. These movies were like, they would spend like $3-4 million to make them and get like 20-25 million. And they would just do it every 2 years. They'd do a new one. And, some would make 50, some would make 30, but like it was like a middle class. There was like a middle class of movies where you could kind of do these things at a moderate budget. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't disagree with you that there's something wrong. I just don't think that the problem is that there's not enough big budgets being thrown at original ideas. I think there's not enough middle class budgets available for anybody to make anything.
Yeah.
Everything is God tier Avengers level or trying to be with CGI and with marketing budgets, or it is A24.
Yeah.
Like everything it's the haves and the have-nots. There's no middle class of films anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't see comedies.
A25 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's where I was going, is it's not that I disagree with you that there's a problem, and it's not like, oh, you're part of the problem or I'm part of the problem. I just think that the issue is everything is min-maxed. We see this in games, we see this in movies, we see this in finances. The people with big pools of money, if they're going to make a big bet, they want to make a big bet on something that they really believe will give them a big return.
Yeah.
And so
and I'm just of a mindset to like...
Hold on. They pull all their money together for the big bets.
Yeah.
And then they take another chunk of money and put a little bit on a lot of small bets, penny stocks, basically. Yeah. And there's
some nickels and dimes out there.
Bank investing of like, I'm going to buy, a good amount of shares on this. It should be a decent return. It's min-maxed. And the min-maxing with the financial strategy in a lot of industries is, I think, where we're seeing this rub.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And this is coming from somebody like, not to toot my own horn, but I made my own film and self-funded it. But I wish more people that had way more money than I will ever have, like, can take a chunk of that and throw it at something cool, like for the art of it. Because I will probably never make any of my money back. Like, let's be honest. But I don't feel like, oh, shucks. And maybe these people are dealing with a lot more money, but man, they can't like take some and like for the art of it. That's what I think is missing to a point. I don't know. It kind of bums me out.
Well,
like just to have some money you can like throw in the garbage and be okay with, but they will always want to do like a gargantuan budgets and big name stuff. And it's like, okay.
Well, an independent investor, if there's somebody that's independently wealthy and they've got FU money and they can throw it around, I think that you do see a lot of those types of people go and invest, and they end up fancying themselves being the creator, and they think that they can kind of be the director because they're financing it. And so,
no one wins.
Even if they do that, I don't know that it works great. To me, it's sort of a problem without a solution until we exit this current era of what's going on.
Yeah.
I gotta believe that a decade or two of just tons and tons and tons of content that gets made with no viewership is going to have an effect on all of us.
Yeah.
Consumers, creators. There's a lot of people that make stuff and no one listens to it or watches it and it's good.
Yeah.
And it's like it didn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
And so I think that as that dynamic becomes more and more real, the people that are in it truly for the love of making it are going to keep going.
Yeah.
And build I think that there are people today that are releasing things that in 30 years we'll look back and say, oh my God, that was his first film and nobody gave a shit. But now we're watching it because he stuck with it and kept getting better and kept doing it. Whereas I think there's going to be a lot of people that make a thing or two, and whether it's right or wrong, they're gonna fall off it.
Yeah,
they're gonna give up. Because we're working on music. You're making a movie. We do this podcast. There's a lot of people that would stop the thing that they're doing a lot sooner than some of the things we do.
Sure,
like doing it. We have fun and we enjoy making it. And
I love that Skibidi Toilet went to this very deep discussion.
Well, but let's go back to Skibidi Toilet. That started as essentially some guy in Russia
on YouTube. Yeah, just put up a little
making
video.
Shorts. I don't know if he was doing it for the memes. He thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did it, because he had I doubt he had a plan.
Yeah.
But he stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I don't, it went viral at some point between episode 1 and 10, and people said, "What?" Not people, kids just thought it was funny and kept clicking on it and kept watching it. And I just think it's funny. You say nobody throws money at these original ideas. And here we are. This is a guy with an original ass idea getting the payday. So
that's true.
I didn't know that's where we would land actually when we started talking about this, but I don't know.
But it was more, I think that you're right. I think it was more from a sake of like, oh, that's been memed to death, or Five Nights at Freddy's or whatever else is like, that's already a proven thing online. Let's latch onto that. But or Minecraft. I don't know if you saw they they leaked the Minecraft movie.
I haven't seen the screenshots, but everybody I've seen universally is like, this looks bad. Like, I don't know.
I saw. I did see they were taking it down, but I was like, I got to hunt this Jack Black thing out, and it's him just in a shirt and like pants.
How do you mess this up?
I don't know, but I guess the sheep looks weird to people. I don't know.
So it's not going to be animated; it's live action.
I think no. Well, the little pigs and stuff were, but he is like Steve is him. It's Steve is Jack Black, like in person.
Okay.
But I think he's going to be interacting with a lot of CG like worlds and stuff. But
well, that's it. That's going to suck probably, but maybe it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at with movies.
I'm just more. I am happy as much as I'm right. Well, Skibidi Toilet is not video games, but even with the Minecraft movie and stuff, it is cool, along with Last of Us, to see video games like they found their stride.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to this type of media, like they finally figured it out. But
it's really exciting. I think it's fun, and yeah, I'm at a place where I was telling my wife I used to watch a lot more movies.
Yeah,
I would go out and buy Blu-rays. I would look up lists of movies and just watch 5 in a weekend. I've gotten better this year. This year I probably watched more movies than I have in a long time. But like new movies, I see movies come out and I see like the release stuff about them. I watch a trailer.
Yeah.
I hear the hype. I see stuff on Twitter and I'm like, okay, cool. I even read a little bit of people's like impressions, get an idea of like what worked, what didn't. But then I never see the movie. And there are probably 100 movies in the last 5-6 years that I've kind of done that with, maybe 10 years, that I've never seen. But like, I kind of get it. I know what it's all about. And it's a weird thing. It's almost like I've spark notes like that medium.
You watch so many trailers like I've seen the film.
Yeah. Well,
I don't go to the theater, as much as other people, but when I do go, it's like that new Joker movie. I want to see that in the theater. There's certain things I'm going to come out for. The Metropolis thing. Oh, I'm day one, that Furiosa. Like there's certain like directors. It's like, I'm always going to come out. For I don't know if you saw, did I put this in our group chat? Harmony Korine, who recently did, he did the Spring Break movie, James Franco. That was in 2012 or whatever. Spring Breakers.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a long time
famously,
ago.
he did Gummo. Sorry, but he's kind of a very auteur, like weird director. And the new movie is called Baby Something, but it's about these baby faced. It's literally like an adult body with a baby face, gangsters that like are like robbers and stuff and
interesting.
Whatever. But it's premiering soon or whatever. But that kind of stuff, it's like I'll go out to the theater and check it out. But
yeah, that's cool. And I don't know. It's just an interesting place we're at. I would like to see more of a middle. I could use with less of the cheap stuff and maybe a little bit less of the super high budget stuff and more of the middle class stuff.
Yeah.
That's more my speed. There's too much of the cheap stuff for me to have any ability to keep up with. And I feel that way with games a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I have all these games available to me. I own all these games. All these games are coming out. And then earlier this year, I'm like, let's go play Lost Planet from 2006 because I remember playing that in a Target, and I'm kind of curious what that's like in 2024.
Yeah.
Like, why am I making that decision? There's all these other things, worth playing, or, there's Elden Ring and there's all these things. And I'm like, well, I do have more Destiny guns to grind. And, like it's just, I don't know if that's complacency. I don't know what that is. But
what you're in the mood for.
It's what you're in the mood for. Yeah. It's not a moral issue either.
Because I will go to extremes in all my life. But recently I beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And another thing I'm playing right now is Animal Well, which is like, you can beat in like 6 hours. But it's like, I needed there was no way I could do, another major open world kind of game on that. But I did want to talk about that for a second. I beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Congratulations.
I adored this game. I'm at 120 hours, and I am going to keep playing like the hard mode and stuff. But I'm taking like a week or two kind of break from it. I'm going to come back. But man, this game is, we're talking like we got to get away from high budget stuff. But this was the highest of budgets.
I'm just laughing because you're like, you're
I'm
making
the biggest
points,
hypocrite of.
but you're like, but that Final Fantasy, and God, I love that Furiosa, and I love that Inside Out, and I'm gonna go see that. It's just the irony. I get it. I get the sentiment of what you're saying, though.
Yes, but no, I loved it, and I'm looking forward to more people getting through this. If at some point, are you going to play this year? You think?
I hope so.
I really think everyone should try to.
I'm going to love this game when I get to it.
I think you will. It's everything I dreamed of as a kid. And I might have talked about this in the last podcast, but it delivered on just, you are on this globe trotting. You are on a big world mission. Like, you are visiting continents and seeing this stuff, and it just the level of scale here is just incredible, and just I freaking loved it. But I'm curious to talk about more once you get more into like where the story's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not so like, I've seen enough to know that there are deviations in this. So my question for you, and this will tell me a lot: Evangelion 1.0, Evangelion 2.0, Evangelion 3.0. And for anyone that's not watched Evangelion's a TV show, and then years later they remade the show, and like we always joke, in the first they remade the whole show across 4 movies. The first one, it's like the change is they changed the color of the ocean.
It's pretty similar stuff.
That's it. And then the second one, it's similar, but they introduce some new characters, and then by the end it's like, whoa, they're going a different way. And the third one, they absolutely go in such a different direction, you almost don't know how you feel about it. Is this Evangelion 2.0? That's my impression. I
actually would say that at times this is very, very, very close to the original. Individual moments that you remember from the original game, you're like, oh, how are they going to do that? Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's actually better, or it's more expanded upon. But it's pretty hitting all the check boxes. But then they'll kind of expand it or take another slight twist. But everything's kind of like in order on this one. I was surprised.
Gotcha.
They do add some stuff. There is some more so than remake. Like, there's moments. This game is so big, there's just moments where they kind of take a new avenue. But the stuff they do in this one is kind of like, without spoiling it, like covering their butts on some plot holes that I read afterwards. I was kind of reading into people's thoughts. I was like, oh, I didn't realize how much that was kind of covering certain things from the original game that they are fixing. They're patching it.
They're almost doing a Metal Gear Solid 5.
A little bit. But, and then the ending is like, it's just, it's interesting. It's, I would equate it to when 3.0 ended and people were, trying to think what they thought of the thing. And it was like, this was a part of another thing. Like, we have to see how this actually plays out as a whole. That's kind of how I feel about this. Is like, now it's waiting for the third one.
Yeah.
And certain things that they're doing with the story and certain major moments, don't have to say much. But
at the end of the first one, there was I thought it was very poetic that you're battling against fate.
Yeah.
And I know some people just thought that was like Kingdom Hearts shenanigans, and it didn't mean anything.
I did. I thought it was more Kingdom Hearts.
I internalized it as like the creators are setting you up to say, basically, this story will carve its own path.
And that is more developed this time.
Okay, so they pick up on that thread.
That comes up again, and you get to see that. And now I understand that, and it's pretty cool. Because it's semi. We've talked about in the podcast before, like all these major IPs, Evangelion and Star Wars, you have to talk about, if you come back and return to this either with a remake or a sequel, you have to talk about, it's almost impossible to talk about how big that thing is. You have to have a meta narrative, because it's the elephant in the room. And I think this is funny because when you see these, they're called the Whisperers and the Fate and all this other stuff, it is kind of, it's part of the almost story. It's like right in front of your face. It's a funny way to deal with it. Each has done a different way of doing that, but this one is funny in doing that way. But interesting. But no, I loved it. Highly recommended it. definitely I think for everyone, just a game of the year contender.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is
for sure.
I'm expecting fully for it to win. We're at the midway point of the year, which I can't believe.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to start to comment on the year. I think it's been fine. I think overall, we've talked about this generation feels a little light on the stuff that I like, but I also have not attacked this generation with the same enthusiasm I probably did last generation. Not because I don't like where gaming's at. I'm just in a different place in life at the moment than I was a couple years ago. I'm just not buying as many day one releases.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2 kind of burned me. This year, I spent the 70, loved the first 10 hours, and then beyond that realized it's all just that, and it doesn't have a change up. And that kind of astounds me even to this moment.
Yeah.
I'm on like the last 5 hours of that game, and I haven't even touched it in 2 months because it's like I just don't even really want to finish it.
Yeah.
And so that's a bummer. It's been an interesting year. I also unexpectedly fell down the Destiny hole. I thought I was done.
And it pulled you back in.
And then last podcast, I said, I'm wrapped up. I got the new exotic and I finished the quest, and I've been doing this new episode and doing, I actually had a realization this week.
Of Destiny?
Yeah, of Destiny. Because there's always more to do. Even when you think I used to think well, if you beat a raid, you've reached the end game. And now I don't think that at all. I mean, you've done a raid. I used to think, well, if you finish a day one raid, or if you do all the dungeons and all the raids. But even when you do that, there's another level of soloing these. I did a little bit of soloing some of the dungeons, and it's a different challenge completely because you have to basically, do these mechanics by yourself. And it's a puzzle at that point. And, get these DPS checks, get enough damage out to do it in one phase or something. I think I've realized that the real end game of that game is having the answer to any piece of content at any time.
Yeah.
And the pride that comes from such mastery that you find yourself in a situation where you're I need to do a lot of damage. I need to do it within 20 seconds. And there's no rally flag, so I need to have good ammo economy, and I need to. It's a fusion rifle surge on this week on this dungeon, so I need to use a fusion rifle, and there's an arc surge, so I need an arc fusion, and I did the Nightfall 2 months ago, and I got a god roll of this arc fusion rifle, so I'll use that, and having those answers and being I'm in this situation, I have a build for that, and grabbing that build off the shelf. It's the ultimate tinkerer's game of these abilities and these guns and stuff. I found that it's just fun jumping on every week, and whatever the nightfall of the week is, there's Grandmaster difficulty, and whether I'm playing with somebody, I'm soloing it, or there's a new event out because there's new events coming out all the time. Having the answer to the situation, because I've got 1,400 hours in the game probably over the last 7-8 years. That's where the satisfaction is. That's when that game works. And there's nothing else like it that can do that, So it's just interesting. I kind of was realizing that. I was well, I don't know, if I'll ever be done just because they're done doing expansions or whatever, which they're not. They're done with whatever story arc, but they're still going. But I've been having a great time with that this year and this summer especially. And it's the perfect game to have going in the background. If I've got a free 30 minutes on a night, it's so easy to just jump in and do whatever little thing I wanted to do.
That's why I want to get Helldivers 2 soon.
Yeah.
Because I want to go back to some multiplayer stuff. I've been cooped up in an alone world.
Yeah, you really have been. Yeah,
that's what I prefer doing. I like doing that. But now I want to come out of my shell.
Yeah.
Back. I do like Master Chief Collection. There was a long stretch I was playing that, but
yeah, that's a great game. I'm dabbling with that right now, playing the Combat Evolved a little bit. Bungie there's just something unique about the way that their shooters feel and play.
They have the best feel.
The best feel by far. And I actually just went down a YouTube rabbit hole watching developer commentaries and like reacting to. There's a great video out there of like 4 or 5 of the developers of the original.
I was going to watch that where they were commenting on the old levels and stuff.
They watched through somebody speed run the whole game in like an hour, and it's really well paced, and they give great commentary. And it was cool that, you know, that video probably came out a few years ago, 2-3 years ago. So they're all like moved on, big time moved on. But it was like listening to a group of guys who are in their 40s getting back with their 20-year-old buddies.
Yeah.
And like just the inside jokes and the things they're laughing about and giving each other a hard time. And oh yeah, I remember when I got handed this level, I was told I had 3 days, and I will
watch that.
It's just fun. So cool, and it made me so nostalgic for that game. And I think Combat Evolved, that's probably in my top 5 games of all time. I love that campaign.
Yeah.
I love that campaign. It's one of those pillars in my childhood.
Yeah.
Like there's a before Ocarina of Time and after, and there's a before Halo and after.
Yeah.
What are those games for you? Like what are the Mount Rushmore? Like you can only have 2 or 3 or 4 of them. Like there's a B, C, A, D. Like
yeah.
Your taste was irrevocably changed. Demon Souls is one.
I would say Final Fantasy X. That was like, that got me into gaming. Cause like before that, like any kid, give them a freaking console to play Nintendo when they're growing up. But like that, like clicked something. I was like, oh, I want to like keep playing these. Like there's a deeper level. There's more mature stories, and like, oh, okay, there's cool stuff going here. I'd say Metal Gear Solid 1 was another one. Like that was at the same time. I'm like 6 watching my dad play this. I'm like, what is going on here? Like this mystery, that like deep, you know, rooted of like psychological and, you know, all this weird spooky stuff going on, but it's like grounded in like war, and they're talking about war and bombs and stuff. Like that just always changed me. Man, I think seeing Mario 64 for the first time was kind of revolutionary. I just remember seeing that at a cousin's house, and I went over there and he had N64. I only had a PlayStation, and that's all I begged for that Christmas, because I was like, I had always thought like, oh, PlayStation is better, or like this was the graphics or whatever, and I saw that and I was like, oh, they have this 3D Mario game. Yeah. It's crazy. I think I even played Crash Bandicoot at that point. I was like, this is different. This is open.
Mario 64 is just different than Crash Bandicoot or anything else that was out at that time.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
But what the heck else have you been playing? Anything?
No, I mean, literally nothing else. I booted up Warframe.
Okay.
Which is, you know, not Destiny, but basically like a Destiny type game.
You just went from Destiny to a game kind of like Destiny.
Yeah, it was playing that with our buddy Zach and my buddy Sam, who I normally play Destiny with. I'm loaded in Warframe because there was a pricing error on Steam like in 2018.
Yeah.
Back when like we would I would work at my job, but I had to go to the office every day, and I was young and didn't have a lot of responsibility at work. I mean, we're talking years ago. 2017, and I mean, I would just kind of scan Steam, see if like during the day, just see is there anything, you know, for sale, because I was building my coffin, my Steam library that I'll be buried with, because nobody will give a crap about it. But I would just scan and see if something was on sale, and there was a Warframe pricing error, and so platinum is like the currency in that game, and I have like 5,000 platinum, and like that is hundreds of dollars.
You basically got into Doge when it was
I bought
Dogecoin,
and I bought it for 70 cents.
Wow.
I bought like 500 roughly platinum.
Can you sell that?
So
like for real money?
Could you? Yes, because the game allows for trading, or I could sell my account. Would I? No.
How much could you make?
I mean,
is this like hundreds or thousands?
This is the irony. I don't know the Warframe black market because I don't know that game that well.
Oh, okay.
But what I do is I never got to be this growing up. You know, the rich friend?
Yeah.
But I get on Warframe every now and then. I mean, like the first thing you need to do in that game is it's like Destiny, like you're going across the star chart and unlocking all the planets. I don't have all the planets unlocked, but I get on that game, you know, every year I'll play it for maybe 10 hours with this buddy or that buddy. So I'm about halfway through that star chart. And I always just kind of like say, let's go to the dojo. And I give them, you know,
nice.
Give them 100 platinum, you know, like, oh, don't worry, I got this. And
you're like grandpa giving a couple bucks.
Yeah. It's like I've got my Warframe 401k cashed out. got it in hand. And
nice.
So, but
so you're rich in Warframe.
I'm rich in Warframe. It's kind of like being rich in like post World War II Germany.
Okay.
Not because Warframe is that awful, but because I don't spend time there. Like I don't have any, it's a good game to be rich in because you know how Warframe works because it's free.
Yeah. Everything's free, but you can buy cosmetics.
No.
No. Oh, you have to buy other stuff?
No. Yeah. No. The game is free. Like you download the game and you boot it up and you play it for free. But there are these, basically different frames. So a frame is essentially like this exoskeleton, like an Eva or something like that. But you're just like a person-sized guy. And there's probably 60, 70 of these frames in the game. It launched with like 3 of them. You can grind for a frame. The way you grind for a frame is you need to get a chassis. You need to get, it's like 3 parts. It's like parts to a car or something like that. But the only way to get those pieces is to go and defeat certain bosses over and over again until they drop that piece. And then when you get those pieces, you can go to your foundry and dump a bunch of currency in, and then it starts making that piece. And it's not uncommon for a piece to take 48 hours. So like you click craft and it starts a 48-hour timer. And then when you make all 3 pieces, then you put those 3 pieces together and it makes a frame. I mean, I've got 30 hours in the game and I've made like 6 frames, and there's like 70 of these things.
Yeah.
I've not finished the game, but the time it would take to make all the frames and get them all, you're looking at hundreds of hours. So then the other option is you can buy the frames. You can buy the parts for platinum. You can buy mods from people. You can trade with people. And so it's I would say very much a freemium. I mean, you don't have to spend money, but if you have any aspirations of getting through the game before, a decade goes by, you're probably going to be spending some money or looking for a pricing error. It's a point of pride. I don't like using the platinum because I don't want to feel like I had to have it. So I've never spent a dime of it. I've given it to my friends that play, but I'm like one of those like rich trust fund kids that like cosplays as a poor guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm in my apartment. I don't have any money. But like, like you could just call your parents and get like 20K injected into your bank at any time.
Yeah.
That's how I am in Warframe. I cosplay as a trust fund kid.
Okay. There was some girls on TikTok that went viral recently because they were like hippies and people were like, oh, these are trust fund kids. Because they were like, they had like some Jimi Hendrix going or something, and they look like, and people were like, oh, their parents are rich.
Yeah.
They're like knew it within seconds. Like,
yeah. Well, I saw that Madonna's son got in like some heat for that kind of thing. He was saying, he posted, I don't know, he posted something or it was a TikTok, but he was like, yeah, I'm just scrounging by. Like, I can barely make my rent. He lives in New York, and people were like, and he is like a musician, I think, and people like him, but people were giving him a hard time, like. Mom is Madonna.
Yeah.
Like, you're not scrounging by. And he came out and apologized, like, I kind of shouldn't have said it that way. It's like, no, you shouldn't. Like,
I'm seeing more, it's cracking me up. I'm seeing more like celebrities' kids that are like in show business. There was one the other day that cracked me up. It was like, one has totally owned that they're a Nepo baby or that they're whatever. And one said, I'm really privileged. I'm having fun. I'm like, I was like, that's the way to do it. It's like, hey, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my parents,
Yep. I think it was Rashida Jones said something because her dad's Quincy Jones, who's like a legendary record producer, produced Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And her mom was Peggy on Twin Peaks, was like the diner owner. Yeah. So like, she's like wicked famous and like has crazy famous parents. And she said something like, my dad said, we worked really hard. Just capitalize on it. Anybody else would,
anybody else would.
You do your best. And that's
I never looked down on that, but if they're like whiny babies about it, that's when I get a problem.
Well, it's because I will say it would be frustrating. I imagine I don't have that privilege. It would be a weird thing if you're born with it to feel like you never got a say. And like, no matter what level of success you have, you kind of have to always be like,
oh, that's so-and-so's kid,
I started
of course.
with 5,000 platinum in Warframe.
Exactly. It goes back to the Warframe
and that kind of ruined my like drive to play the game when I got that, because it was like, well, I could grind, but I could also spend this platinum, but I don't want to spend the platinum.
Yeah.
So we all have problems, but just don't act like you have different problems than the ones you have.
Yeah.
Like if you're a Nepo baby, instead of pretending
that
like you had to fight for it, you just be honest and say, really my problem is not that I can't get work or I can't get an opportunity. My problem is I hate the feeling that, no matter what I do, I kind of always have that as part of my story. And I envy, my idealized version of, I wish I didn't have that. I wish I could try, but I'm also lucky I don't have to.
Exactly.
But I'm not a Nepo baby, so it doesn't mean anything if I say it. They
just
have to
own
say
it and don't be a jerk. It cracks me up. Speaking of jerks, they were talking about on, I think it was Three Amigos and Steve Martin and Chevy Chase. That's in that movie. Yeah. I think it's Three Amigos.
Yeah.
Are you going crazy?
Three Stooges or Three Amigos?
No, I think it's
Three Amigos.
Okay.
I actually have no idea what you're talking about, but I just
I'll correct this if it's wrong. But in that I forget who the other person was, but the other actor. But it's recently come out. Like a lot of people just hate working with Chevy Chase. I don't know if you've seen any of that buzz or whatever.
Yeah, it's inescapable.
Yes, like everyone hates working with that guy. Well, I saw this again on TikTok the other day. They were like quoting Steve Martin. He was like, "Yeah, he was absolutely abysmal to work with. Like this was one of the worst experiences." And Chevy Chase was like responded to that and was like, I guess I was bad. Like he was like, I don't remember being whatever, but if he says it, I probably was. Like,
dude, Chevy Chase is an interesting case of, I 100% believe that he's an asshole, and I'm not surprised he's an asshole.
Yeah,
but he's so funny it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like what are some other I consider him to be one of the funniest actors that I've ever watched, like in older movies. And
another similar, but he's not an a-hole, is similar. I don't know why I was getting this in my TikTok feed. They were talking about the making of Elf, and I forgot the actor's name who played like the dad in Elf that Will Ferrell goes and lives with and all that. That whatever. Is that his brother? I think it's his brother. He goes.
I think so. I know who you're talking about though.
But he said that he genuinely was annoyed by Will Ferrell. He said that he hated, he was like, everything you see like on set, he was actually actively annoyed by Will Ferrell. And he said, he was like, I did not think he was funny. He was only obnoxious. He was like, but then when we watched the premiere and got to see it, he was like, I walked out of there and I told Will, I was like, I hated you on set, but this was brilliant. Like, this was so freaking fun. Like,
that's so cool.
He was like, but in the moment, he was like, this was not funny. You were obnoxious. Like, I did not think this was, I thought it was not funny.
Wow.
But then watching it was like, this is brilliant. He was like, so this is absolutely like a masterpiece of acting and stuff. But it's so funny that comes across of we've done little videos on YouTube before where it came to method acting, I think, of wearing you down. You were hungry and I was trying to be obnoxious. So it just came through.
The Tech Time series.
Yeah.
The classic Tech Time series. I played a super pretentious musician.
Yeah. And I played a super nerdy guy who made a new equipment. And I was trying to show it off to you, but I just wore you down of I was kind of Will Ferrell.
I didn't eat before we arrived.
Yeah.
And the other thing to know about Zach is if you film, maybe he's gotten better, but if you film something with him, just go ahead and tack on another 50% to the time estimate. Like if it's 4 hours, it's 6 hours minimum. If it, I love just do the math.
On this new film, we have a buddy Travis introduced me to, and it was his name's Phil. He ran sound for this film, and he was like, why doesn't he just say it's this and this time? It's cool. A new generation, the Skibidi generation.
The Skibidi generation. But I arrived, I made every mistake you can make showing up for a shoot with Zach. I didn't eat.
Yep. You're done.
I didn't sleep the night before. I wore dirty clothes because I just lived in an apartment with my friends and I didn't have my laundry done and I was cranky. I smelled. And we show up and he is just I'm supposed to be this serious musician. And he is just loud and proud and obnoxious and goofy. And I got worn down. I didn't have a full meltdown.
No, but, you were good. But I think everyone else noticed.
It worked really well for the characters and the clash there. But it was
a good juxtaposition of.
It was excellent.
But what else has freaking happened this month? Can we talk some TV? Or is there something? Was there some gaming other stuff?
The only other gaming thing is it's been really fun. We've been hanging out and watching. I love that we're doing where our friends get together and we've
been getting together.
Play. We've been swimming and then watch somebody play a game. We used to do that all the time. Then we all got busy and that is such a fun thing to do. Get with a group of friends and watch somebody play. So we've been watching Kenny play Dark Souls 1. which he's never played, but he's done Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And so just watching him go through it and us all kind of commentating and, you know, talking about the game. And it's just really fun. We used to do that. We did that with Resident Evil. I think when we first became friends, I would go over to your old house where you live with your parents. Yeah. And Kenny was like, come over. We do like this gaming night and like just watching Alex playing through Resident Evil, like 5 or 6 of us on a futon.
Yep. Take turns or we'd switch around.
Yeah. We'd switch around. And that's just been really fun. That's been a nice, you know, kind of gaming adjacent activity. So,
I've really enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
But I've saw a new movie. Well, I think you saw it too. I think maybe you didn't. Inside Out 2. Did you see that?
I was with you.
Oh yeah.
It was like me and you.
Sorry.
And our wives.
That's true. He was there. Hey, Travis was there.
Well, in fairness, we didn't sit together. But,
that's true. You were far away.
But we did go to dinner together before.
That's true.
And we did talk about the movie. I think that night was a blur
because I had a job right before that and I was coming in on 2 wheels.
It was the day of the Trump assassination attempt.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot happening.
A lot happened that day. Yeah. But other than the Trump assassination thing, we saw Inside Out 2.
We did.
And really liked it. What did you like? Do you like the first one more or do you like this one? I can't really tell. I need to maybe go back and watch the first one. But
yeah, I loved the first one.
I think they both, it's funny because they're just different stages of life. Like these emotions, it's about like the girl's emotions, you can see them as characters in her head. So that was the premise of the first one. She was younger. And then this one, you know, in their teenage years. So I think they just are just stages of life. I can't really rank, you know. I liked my childhood. I also liked being a teen. You know,
I like them both. I haven't seen that first one in a while, obviously, but I like this one enough to say I probably prefer this one a little bit, not because the other one wasn't as good. It was probably just as good, but I thought that it was really cool that they brought in, you know, the teenage preteen years are ones I remember more than my childhood years. I don't know why that is. So when I watched the first one, I loved it. I thought it was great. But this one, I was thinking about my life more. Whereas the other one, I was just watching the character and from my memory of it. So
see, I bawled my eyes out at the first one.
Yeah. I did too. So like
they had little touching moments. This one is more fresh that we remember what the touching moments
are. It's hard to say like better. They're like 2 sides of the same coin. I really liked this one. The way in this one, they bring in like the emotions of a child that are covered in the first one are like happiness, sadness, you know, fear, whatever. This one, like all those emotions are still there, but then they bring in anxiety and embarrassment. And I don't know, the one was like trying to be cool or whatever, but they bring in these other modes that you do unlock. And I was like, the people that write this, the group that does the writer's room at Pixar, they're geniuses. Because that is what happens. You start to develop these new things and you don't even know why. And you actually do bury your more pure emotions.
Yeah.
You start to bury happiness because it's not cool to be outwardly happy.
Yeah.
So you may still have moments of happiness, but they're more inward. And so you're cool or you're anxious or whatever. I just really resonated with that. You know, I've got family that really struggles with anxiety a lot, and I've had to talk with them about that. This kind of, I felt like, helped me understand better what that looks like on the inside. You know, like there's just some really cool scenes where, you know, in this movie, the anxiety character kind of takes control of the ship of the teenage girl in a very believable way. And I also think it did a good job of showing that anxiety isn't purely a bad thing. It's when it starts to eke into things that you don't have any control over.
Yeah.
Like anxiety is the thing that gets you to do the thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
Like there's a healthy amount of anxiety.
Sure.
I just love the extended metaphor of these movies though. And in the first one, the big lesson was all the memories of the kid were either happy and it was like a little ball of like a happy memory, or sad and there's a little ball of the sad memory. And the big lesson is if you allow room for all your emotions, sometimes those balls can be multicolored. So sometimes they'll be happy with a little bit of sadness. Yeah. Sometimes they'll be scared with a little bit of, you know, whatever. And so I thought that was a great message. The only thing I was a little confused about was at the start of this one, they were like, the big lesson in the first one was don't screen out anything. Like, don't screen out memories. It's not good. And this one starts up and they're like, all right, we're going to go put these in the vault because we don't want to think about this ever again. And I was like, all right, did we learn our lesson last time? I need to go back to that. It's fine. I'm sure there's a nuance in there of why the characters were doing that. It was just kind of interesting how, you can maybe suppress certain things. And, as we get older, I mean, I try to be better about not suppressing. If something's embarrassing, when I was younger, I would like really try not to think about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more open. It's kind of funny. We watch this. I'm trying to be more open of like, I'm the only one that remembers that. So like, I don't need to actively suppress an embarrassing memory. Like no one else remembers it.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they're close to me and we laugh about it, So,
well, I think that's the most important thing is laughing about it. Like, like that sucked. That was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. I loved it. And me and my wife were sitting together and it got towards, the make you cry part and all these Pixar films, they all have them. And I was like, tears are going down my eyes, and I'm like trying to sneakily like wipe my tears because I was thinking about my freaking son. And that's why I turned over. I was like, I'm thinking about our stupid kid. This is tag on it, like, you know what I mean? We're just sitting here, and she was like, I was too. And I was like, why is that? And I was like, I think he's gonna have to like go through this. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna have to actually go through life and the hard parts and figure out where you stand in life. Yeah. But,
And the cringy stuff that happened in this you felt it.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that's the kind of stuff you say,
kind of stuff you deal with.
Say. And it was just such a good, heartfelt, wholesome movie. Glad Pixar is still making movies. It sounded like at times they've been a little bit under the microscope because they've had some bombs.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to that conversation of like they put out something like The Good Dinosaur, and apparently they were like really passionate about it. Nobody went and saw it.
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, let's put out Toy Story 4. People went and saw it.
Yeah.
Then they put out, I don't know what their more recent, they did something in the last couple of years that even you and I were like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And it came out and like, they ended up putting it on like Disney Plus because it bombed really bad. And then they did this. And it is so hard, even for Disney and Pixar, to get a new idea to get attention. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like if anybody should be able to do it, it should be them. I saw this headline that made me laugh. It goes back to the Skibidi thing. And it was basically Disney investors are very spooked because kids are watching YouTube TV or not YouTube. They're watching YouTube, not YouTube TV. They're watching YouTube at rates that like are 100 to 1 watching Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And
it's attention span thing, I think.
Yeah, well, but it's also like they're resonating more with the uncurated Wild West of YouTube, relatively.
Yeah.
Of like people like you and me making kids videos.
Yeah.
Than like all of these people with like I assume to be like Disney lab coats making like
I had this thought the other day. Let me know what you guys think of this. In the 2000s, what were we raised on? Reality TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of us, like a part of the population, young, kids as we were, brains weren't developed. We were like, that's real. You know what I mean? Like those are whatever.
Sure.
And I'm seeing that with the internet now and like these influencers and these people. And it's like, these people's lives are a wreck. You know what I mean? Like, and I can see that as a 30-year-old man, but like all these kids follow these influencers and all these kids are like hanging on by every word of these like people. And I'm like, these people's lives are not real.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like going for shock stuff. Some of them are, there's a portion where it's like those prank videos or whatever else. And I'm like, this is all staged to make money on YouTube. Yeah. None of this is like real life. And they like stand on every whim of what these people say. And I'm like, this just are living in La La Land.
Yeah. It is scary. It's scary just because, I don't know. We don't know how it'll turn out, but we turned out fine. I think kids will turn out fine.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you can be as influenced by stuff you see as you want to be. You still got to wake up every day and go to school and do your life and make your decisions. But kids, they are influenced. Like their number one like role model is whatever influencer they're into, and who the heck knows like what. But I mean, I don't know who were my heroes when I was that age.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like whatever thing I saw on Fuse or MTV or like whatever thing I saw on G4. Like, you know, like that was what I was interested in. So it's going to be fine. It's just interesting. It's very interesting. I think what's interesting is my sister told me about a book, and I hate that I don't remember the name, but she read a book like 5 years ago, and it was like, there's never been more famous people, but nobody's actually famous now, which isn't true. Like Elon Musk is famous. Trump is famous. Yeah. I don't know what, like Biden is famous. Like there are famous people, but that aren't even politicians. There are people we all know. Yeah. But there are so many people that are significant to individual people that are not significant to the broad majority of people. Yeah. That, you know, you and I, it's
like the death of celebrity. It's which posts like YouTube and TikTok. Yeah, everyone gets their 15 minutes now of fame or whatever. But to take that further, even us doing this freaking podcast, you know what I mean? We couldn't have dreamed of that. No, the 2000s, you know, early 2000s.
Yeah, it would never happen. I guess I just wonder, and I guess it'll happen naturally because some things will hang on or not, but because so many kids get into different shows or YouTubers or whatever, you know, when they're older, like there will be less consensus, I imagine, on what was cool when you were a kid. Yeah. Like there's just going to be things that meant a lot to you that nobody else knew about. Yeah. And I know that's true, like for us, but like you can typically find somebody that was kind of into the music you were into or kind of into the games you were into. You're going to cross paths.
Or the TV shows when we were kids. It was like, oh, did you catch Cartoon Network last night and stuff? And it's like now all these people have like scattered. There's like 3,000 things they can get into.
Yeah. But they're probably going to school still and they're all getting latched onto like us similar, like Skibidi Toilet. So
every conversation we've had this podcast, it's just like Skibidi Toilet. So it is. I want to thank Skibidi Toilet for not sponsoring us, but tying us together.
Skibidi Toilet is the cultural anchor we need.
I do think that we're thinking about like what fame is and whatever, and it's Skibidi Toilet.
Yeah. That toilet head is more famous
than the DweeBros podcast.
Than our podcast. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But more power to him.
But if Michael Bay is looking for content to adapt after he wraps up the Skibidi Toilet connected universe, I mean, we're available. This is
Dweebs could get a season 2 with Michael Bay involved.
Hey, you're looking for a financier, you said. You want somebody rich to just throw money at...
I want a sugar daddy.
How do we find a sugar daddy for our for your movie?
Looking for sugar daddies.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm kind of calling for. But I saw a new show month. Gunbuster, an anime.
That's old, right?
Very old. I think it's 88. I want to say.
Keep talking. I'm going to adjust something.
Okay. So this show is what it stands for original video animation or something like that. OVAs. Have you heard of that? It's like an anime term, but it's like, I don't know if it's like an EP of like an anime is what I've kind of always taken it as.
My understanding is
it could be wrong.
An OVA is a standalone release, and I'm not sure on this, but I believe it's generally not broadcast on TV. It's a direct to video release.
Oh, okay.
So OVA typically means it's a single, you know, like a 45-minute to an hour and a half thing, like a movie or a short, and it's direct to video, not broadcast on Japanese television.
Okay, so that's what happened. So with Gunbuster, this was Hideki Anno, his first TV show, or there might have been, no, I think this was after, I can't remember. There's another one he did, and I'm about to watch this. It's called Nadia. Secret of the Blue Water or something. That's the other one. But he made Gunbuster. I think Gunbuster was his first. But this was 6 episodes, pretty short. And I really enjoyed it. There is so much stuff you could see him building up to in Evangelion.
Nice.
So you're getting to see like the genesis of like, oh, he's playing with those like, with Shinji's like, in Evangelion, a big thing is like getting into the head of Shinji and psychologically where he's at and like what his focus is. And that this show kind of starts to like, you just get to see a nugget of that. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. You can kind of see he's like building these building blocks and like, oh, okay. And that's what I'm going to make eventually. But loved the show. I also want to say, famously, in this podcast, I have talked about hentai.
Yes, there was a famous
how
hentai
I accidentally found hentai. You can search hentai on Google. You'll find it.
Fair to say, I accidentally found it.
You'll find our
purposely
podcast
watched it.
Yeah, I purposely watched it, and I did not know the links of what I was seeing in this as well. Because Evangelion, it covers up its nudity.
It's like artistic. They don't cover up everything.
When they show towards the end, or towards the end, definitely with I don't want to spoil it if you haven't
generally,
seen it,
it's artistic nudity.
You get to see major moments or like that. But this was just regular moments. And I think of Evangelion, and those regular moments, they almost have fun covering up and censoring. They have a famous scene where they have a straw that covers up Shinji or whatever, or there's this there's humor to those scenes. This was they're going to the baths, and I should probably give the premise. It's all of these women in this academy, these girls, these teen girls, and they are being taught to pilot these robots in space.
Okay.
To all these missions and stuff. So it's all these teen girls together and whatever, but it is just straight up just nudity at times. They're just sitting there and no shirt and just let it all hang out, and they're doing jokes still with that kind of stuff, but it's Evangelion did not have the level close to this.
That's wild.
Of nudity. But very cool moments in this. I would say I would compare this. If you like Evangelion and you like Interstellar, you're gonna have a good time. There is stuff that Interstellar dabbles with time and all this other I don't want to give too much away, but this show does that similar. They have other kind of stuff that they're commenting on, but really liked it. But yeah, lots of prepare yourself for nudity. But very, very cool parts in this. Some you can kind of see again that the building blocks to Evangelion they get to. But Gunbuster, I would definitely recommend it. Animation is really cool for the time. And
see, I don't know what to say, because if I say I want to watch that now, it sounds like I want to watch it because there's nudity.
I mean, that's
you said
part
teenage
of
girls. That's
they're just in school. They don't say that they're teenage,
so they might be college age.
Yeah.
It's a college school for piloting robots.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think they were in college?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually can't remember, but I think, high school at the youngest.
In Japan, high school.
Japan is so different on this. These are the clips they're going to use, the YouTubers is I'm going to call them out years from now.
Hey, you know what? Make us famous and burn us at the stake. Go for it. Have fun.
I'm going to say they're college. I didn't make the show.
This is like when we were at that house party to see our friend play a show, and we were the only people over 20 and we were both over 30. And we saw some people drinking. We didn't give them the drinks.
Yeah.
We saw some people drinking.
Doesn't matter.
You were like, if the cops show up, I was like, I'm just going to say I'm here for the music. And you were like, yeah, that's not going to play.
Yeah.
That's not going to play.
You'll be screaming that in the back seat.
I didn't organize this event.
That's not me. But yeah, Gunbuster. Check it out or don't. It's up to you.
Gunbuster. What's the title mean?
Don't know. Oh, the things are called Gunbusters. That's their defense in this space thing.
Interesting.
But
and okay, so I break things in my brain into games, movies, TV, anime. And
anime is its own thing.
Technically, anime, you could say TV. I consider it its own thing because if I say I'm watching a TV show, I just don't think of anime typically.
Okay,
I think
that's
of
fair.
TV. Maybe that's just I'm racist and there's I'm not racist, but maybe it's don't clip that.
Terrible.
Maybe it's maybe it's just I've got a I love anime.
Yeah.
But of those four, and I guess music's a thing too, but it's different. I actually find myself more intrigued and more interested in animes more often than I do anymore, even games or movies or television show premises. I hear and see clips of more animes that I'm like, I would like to carve out the time to watch that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would like to, this year I've done a lot of movies, spent a lot of James Bond, but I've done a lot of movies. I'm wanna watch more anime. I'm watching one right now. I'm still working my way through JoJo's. Like, I mean, I watch 5 to 10 episodes every 6 months. So like, what are we talking about here? Like, it's not. It's not like I'm slaving away. It's not like this is some super long show, but I'm enjoying it. I still like. No one else watches it that I know.
Yeah,
no one watches that show. No one, and so I can't talk to anybody about it. But it's really good.
I tried.
And you didn't get
the good stuff.
You didn't get to the part that you would love.
Yeah,
you didn't get to the part that you would love. I would almost.
I was getting wore down.
I would almost say here's what I would ask, because Jacob isn't going to watch Friday Night Lights because he's a liar. I would make a bet with you of some kind.
Oh,
so think about what you would want to bet, because I'm good on my bets. I'm good on them. I watched all of The Leftovers.
Watch Attack on Titan.
I think I still owe you Attack on Titan for something, don't I?
Attack on Titan is another bet.
What did I bet you about Attack on Titan?
I think I watched whatever.
That was a Jacob bet. It was Jacob.
Oh, okay.
If he watched Friday Night Lights, I would watch Attack on Titan.
Okay. Was that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, but he's dead to me on that front.
That's true.
Because he said he would watch it and he didn't.
Yep.
You should start, and this is sacrilege. You're not supposed to skip JoJo parts, but I know you.
Yeah.
And I know the kind of stuff you're into. I know the kind of stories you like. I know the art stuff you like really bold color choices.
See, now you say that, but I thought Leftovers was a slam dunk for you. And then when you had your criticism with it, I was shocked. I was like, I just read that totally wrong.
That's a whole other thing. There's some.
So I don't know. I don't know if you do know. I don't know if we know each other.
Well,
the one thing we agree on is Skibidi Toilet and Lost is what I've kind of found.
You should watch Diamond is Unbreakable.
What is it?
Diamond is Unbreakable.
Diamond is that an anime?
It's the fourth part of JoJo.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think that if you just throw that on, it's self-contained enough. You'll get the idea. Anybody that's from another part, you won't even realize or worry about it. I think the absurdity, and I think you would like that set of episodes. I think that one and Golden Wind.
Yeah.
I think that
I need to watch a recap because I liked parts of what I watched of those JoJo. Like the season 1 stuff was Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. It was fun. Season 2 had some fun parts on that. Was that the ship and stuff? Or is that?
Yeah, I think so. I think what's hard for me is I need to find to me, it's like saying that you weren't into Zelda, but you just played Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2. It's like you didn't.
I didn't get Ocarina of Time.
You didn't get to any of the stuff of why we talk about Zelda.
Yeah,
that's how it feels. It's like I honestly couldn't even tell you the name of one person in season 1 or 2 other than Dio and Jonathan. I don't know, because it just becomes a different thing later. But
we'll see one day. I do see that show often.
Part 4.
That I might return. The Return of Me.
Yeah. If you're going to watch one, that's the one, because that's when you got to remember, I mean, the guy that writes JoJo's started in the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And so like the part 1, manga finished like in the first couple of years of him doing it. And the part 2 was like another couple of years after that. And then he worked on Stardust Crusaders for like 7 years. Diamond is Unbreakable was like in the 90s more. And like the evolution of 10 years of him writing manga, the character designs and works about them, and like it is just so much more fun and interesting and absurd and exciting and funny, extremely funny. The first couple parts of JoJo's they're not really like, they don't make me laugh. It's more just like, what are we doing here?
See, that's what I did like. I don't know.
Well, no, but that's what this is too.
Yeah.
Like this goes there. I mean, I don't know.
We'll see.
I think you would like Diamond is Unbreakable. I think you'd eat that show up. I think you'd get a few episodes in and be like, okay, it's clicking. And then you'd get into it.
Okay.
My opinion.
I will.
It's got Twin Peaks DNA.
I will see to it someday. Right now I'm in like a old retro anime. I follow this account. I started following this account on Twitter that like posts retro. That's why I started watching Gunbuster. I was like, I've heard about that. Oh, okay, that's Anno's thing. Okay, I definitely need to see it. But I'm a big like retro anime kick. I'm watching Berserk again. I got that on Blu-ray over here. That recently came out. I'm rewatching that when I can. And I'm also, this is an anime, but it's Anno. But I watched a movie called Love and Pop. And that is a live action film that he directed.
Oh.
And he wrote, I think. And part of it, I think it might have been based off of a novel or something in Japan or something. But
oh, wow.
It's about these. Now I'm getting canceled because people are like, they're going to raise their eyebrows. It's about these teenage girls. Hey, it's Anno. It's not me. You know what I mean? I don't know what's wrong with them. But it's about these teenage girls. And it was during a period in the 90s when this movie came out in 98. But in the 90s, what became popular was you could have these dates. And what they were, whereas, and I think this still goes on to this day, honestly, from what I read about Japan, but these like men would call, there was a number, like these numbers or whatever, and you could sign up for the service, and these girls could sign up and they could go on dates with these men. And what they were like not sexual. Some of them they could be or they couldn't be. So they could I just want to go bowling with you, or I just want to like have a girl like around my arm and like, let's just go whatever. But some of these girls were, of course, like teenagers with these like 50-year-old men going with these teenage girls to these places, and they would pay them like all this money or whatever. So that's what this movie is about, is like these girls, you get to see their friendship or whatever. And they're like, they start to talk about like, hey, I just got these new clothes, or I got this new whatever, because I'm doing these.
So it's a movie about sugar daddies.
Yeah, basically, in Japan. But this movie does such an incredible job, like capturing how that can go wrong. like, like the way this goes wrong for these girls. One girl in particular, who's like the main, actress of the main character of the film. Oh my gosh. Like I couldn't explain to you, how this goes wrong, but like that just goes off the rails. But the shots in this, so I loved, like Shin Godzilla was another Anno film. And then the way, I don't know who the cinematographer is, but the style that he has, it must be the same guy he's stuck with, because that is in this as well as it was in Evangelion, but live action. So you get these wacky shots, like you get these crazy shots that are like first person. It goes into first person at times. It goes into like all the girls are talking, but it's extremely wide, and you only see like the bottom half of them, and then the other. So it's like anime shots at times, like cool. Whatever. But then like you just like, there's shots inside the microwave and like shooting at this and like crazy, like it goes into a bag. You're looking at a bag or something at a time, like up at them super or whatever. Creative. Super hyper creative, like shots where you're just like, it's so creative, but love that. But yeah, there's some shocking like moments where your jaw just hits the floor of just like certain moments in this film that like stick with you. But what this film is kind of known for is like the shots themselves reflect the mind of the character, because that's what Anno is really good at, is like getting in the heads of these characters. But yes, stuff will happen to these characters in this film, and you like the way they shoot what is happening with that is like unlike anything you've seen, and it like feels right. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're in the head of like her when all this stuff is going on and whatever.
When did he make this movie?
98 it came out.
See, I didn't know he did anything live action that early. Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, Love and Pop and Gunbuster, what I've been checking out this month on Anno Kick. Next I'm checking out, it's 39 episodes. It's Nadia and the Secret of the Blue Water. That's his other. I'm like on a big Anno kick. I want to like see all this stuff that he's made. Love done, but
did you ever watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes?
I have not, but that is probably on my list because I'm in this anime world right now.
I've got to start back up that show. I finished the first, I think it's like four different sagas, because it's like 120 episodes.
I remember you talking about how it's involved in political stuff, and
dude,
I will watch that one.
So good.
I will check that one out.
The only down part about it is it's subtitles like hardcore. Like there ain't no dub of this. But until somebody uses like AI or something and does it. But I think it's probably the best, the most complex in a good way, like story and cast I've ever seen in an anime. I mean, it is just, they build so many scales of like where they're telling the story that it's based on a novel, a series of 10 novels. So it's like a Game of Thrones level undertaking.
Yeah.
And it is so cool. I would be interested when you get a chance. If you're into a retro anime mood,
I will get to it for sure.
that is
Where my head's at.
Retro of retro animes.
I just jump around. This is where I'm at right now, but
yeah,
maybe next week might be 70s Italian film. Who knows?
Never know.
I did want to. I only briefly mentioned. I want to only briefly talk about it, but I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and beat it, and then the other night I was like, I gotta get a cleanser. I gotta play something smaller. So I bought this a couple months ago when it came out, but Animal Well, which was the game that was made by one guy, took him 7 years, and then Donkey, famous YouTuber Donkey, produced it with his new studio Big Mode. And so I booted that up, and I'd played for like an hour the first time, so I was like, oh, I kind of forget it. It's kind of like a Metroidvania. It's 2D, like kind of sprites or whatever. And it's reminiscent of like Fez and all these mysterious, like you don't know what this world is, and you're just kind of, they don't tell you anything to a like extreme point. Like you really are discovering everything on your own and how things are supposed to interact. But I booted that up, and I got to a point where I was like, I'm about to quit this game. And I looked it up because I was like, how do I freaking do that? Like, this is enraging me. And I looked it up, and people were like, don't do this right now. This is too hard. You can just come back, because I almost quit. And I've seen a ton of people were like, I actually did quit this game, or I quit it at this point.
Yeah.
But I found out people were just like, no, you can actually come back to this. Like when you open up other areas or do something else. And I was like, I'll do that.
Well, good. And that saved you from quitting.
It also, though, I was like kind of bummed at myself, but also I was like, well, I just changed my taste, because like I always loved this type of game of like mystery, and they don't tell you exactly how to play this. But this was obnoxious. Like it was it would come back to my save point, and I'm like, I'm dead again, and I have to go back all the way through to this. And I'm like, I don't know if I got it in me.
I think when is the player, and I've not made a ton
You're a
of
blob.
games.
You're like a blob.
But I've made enough things that I think I can say this. When you reach a point where multiple people are getting online saying, I didn't know if I was supposed to be doing this at this point, or getting the wrong impression, that's a design play test.
That's how
gap.
I felt good. Once I saw that, I was like, I'm going to stick with it, because people were like, that's the hardest thing in the game, and you can just pass. Like, that was the one part a lot of people got stuck on. So I was like, okay, I feel good. If I can get past this or figure this out later, do that. But
those kinds of games, sometimes I love them, sometimes I don't. I think it boils down to, is there something compelling me to keep on that journey? Yeah. And that feedback loop of feeling like you're getting it figured out is really important for that kind of game, because if that starts to sever and you're not getting that positive reinforcement that you're figuring it out, that's kind of a problem.
It reviewed very well, so overall people liked it, but I just, sometimes you play a game and you're like, I don't know if this is for me, and I was having that discussion with myself. I was like, I'm about to quit this. Like, I don't know if this is worth continuing, but I think it is, and it's short. It's going to take like 6 hours total, so a little different than 122. Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I can think of is I did watch a couple more of those Bond movies. I watched Quantum of Solace last week, and then this week we watched Skyfall. And so we only got 2 left. Quantum of Solace is a funny movie. I
have to ask, whatever one came out in 2008.
That's Quantum of Solace.
That's the last one I've seen.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. So I saw that when it came out.
Me too. Yeah.
I didn't like it when it came out. It just,
I can't remember what I thought about it. And I don't know, is the general thing that movie sucks?
I would say it's definitely not like upper tier.
Okay.
If you had asked me a few, years ago, I would have said, it's not good. It's bad. Revisiting it, it absolutely has some good stuff in it. It came out around the writer's strike, which didn't really bother me. There wasn't like bad writing. What I would say is it picks up about 10 minutes after Casino Royale ends, which is the one before it. Bond movies never do that. They're always their own movie. You just jump in and you watch it. And so when I saw it in theaters, I had not watched Casino Royale recently. watching them back to back, like a week apart. Oh my God. You have to watch Casino Royale before you watch this movie because they just,
I hadn't done that.
They don't redo like establishing shots on like who is Mr. White or whatever. Like Mr. White's this guy that kind of gets established in Casino Royale. Well, they pick up this movie and they just show Mr. White kind of getting beat up and like they mention his name once, but like you don't even know if you just watch this movie, you don't even know who Mr. White is. Like you have to have watched Casino Royale, but if you watch them as like an A-B, it's pretty good.
Okay.
It's good. Got good action scenes. It was better than I remembered. It's not a great Bond movie, but it's definitely better than I remembered.
Okay.
Then we watched Skyfall.
Skyfall.
Let me ask you a question. You don't watch a lot of James Bond.
No, I don't.
If like someone said to you, like, what is the consensus best James Bond movie? What would you guess?
I think it's Skyfall. That's what I hear a lot.
And this is what drives me crazy.
You don't agree?
It's upper third. It's a good movie. It is not like S tier at all. And I've got a vendetta and I don't like know. And Sam agrees. I've been watching with my buddy Sam and we've got a buddy who like, you know, is watching these for the first time. And he's like, I've always heard this one's the best. And it just kind of like irks me because it's good, but it's very.
Do you think Quantum of Solace was so bad that when Skyfall came out, it was elevated?
I think there's some of that. There was also a gap. There was a gap. And I would also say Skyfall was like 2012, early
2010s.
Yeah. And it had like Javier Bardem, like fresh off of No Country for Old Men. So like it hit the zeitgeist, like Adele sang the song. So I think for our generation, a lot of people, that's just the one they've seen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the most popular one.
Yeah.
But it is not.
It was our Ocarina of Time.
It's Twilight Princess.
Oh, then it's better. Okay.
It's the Twilight.
Okay.
I would say that's what it is. The same gut problem I have with Twilight Princess is the problem I have with Skyfall.
Skyfall and Twilight Princess, same.
It's very fan servicey, trying to be another, you know, amalgamation of all these great Bond movies. And then it just does a really weird thing where at the end, like they go to James Bond's like childhood house, have like a shootout. And it's just like weird. And like you meet his butler and it's like, what are we like? Is he Batman? Like, is this Alfred? Like they introduced this guy in the last 15 minutes and I consider it to be very messy storytelling. Like you think the movie's over and then they have this whole like ending thing at this other place. And I don't know. It's a good movie. I get why people like it, but I've done enough whining about it. I think it's closer to mid than it is great. And people as a franchise, I obviously like enough to watch all 20 whatever them in a row, week to week to week. I just, you know, I don't know if you have anything like that. Maybe a band you like or something. And it's like the thing that is the most known exposure wise is like not what you feel like is the best representation, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything like that?
Maybe Modest Mouse. Okay. Which is their Float On song, which I love. Okay. I mean, I adored that song, but then when you get deeper in their discography, it's like, oh, I actually like the old way better. Yeah. That's a good comparison. Songs, stuff like that. Like I imagine it's how some people feel about like the Black Album for Metallica. Yeah.
I love the Black Album, but it's some people, it really bothers them that it's like, it's not like them at their most pure or whatever. So, so that's Skyfall. I mean, we're down to two. We're down to two movies.
Wow.
And one is one I don't like, and one is one that I really liked. So I'm excited. We're going to revisit Spectre and then No Time to Die.
Nice.
And I'm excited to close that chapter. And
Bondathon.
And I think we're doing a Fast and Furious-a-thon.
I might be part of that.
You might join. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Cool. Well, I think that settles up this podcast. We've talked Skibidi. We've talked the film industry, the game industry. We've talked some things that might get us canceled. But, who won't cancel us is our fans. Thank you guys for watching. Hey, give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are on X. We're on there as DweeBros. Check us out. Just check us out. And we are also on TikTok. check us out on there. You'll get to see clips of the podcast. Maybe I post about video game news stuff on there sometimes.
Little skits.
Little skits. You'll see me fighting with people. Who knows what else?
Maybe we'll do like clip out where you're talking about the teenage girls in the movies you watched and the hentai.
Yeah.
Those would be good.
Did you know
TikTok
that, like,
clips.
this is a funny way to end this podcast, but I don't know if you saw the on the news, Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
There's some, like, the one other person on Mr. Beast's team or whatever, they got caught, like, doing, like, talking to some minor or whatever.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. And then that doc, the freaking Dr. Disrespect.
Yeah. He was talking to a minor teen.
Yeah. We are not that. I just watched a show.
You just watched something, for entertainment.
I was just laughing at you trying to, like...
You liked it enough that you checked out other things that guy made. You said, this was cool hentai. Is there any live action? Did this guy do anything live action with teenage girls?
I did.
And then
I
you
went
found
out,
the live action.
I found more. Yeah.
You maybe need therapy.
Yeah.
So.
Scratch all that. In 2038, when we take off, this never happened.
I'm cool with that.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for getting all of that. See you guys next time.
Peace.